Baby development. What's happening in week 5? At 5 weeks old, your baby is doing something that most parents miss entirely. Not because it's subtle, but because no one told them to look for it. This week, your baby is beginning to talk to you. Not in words, but in something just as real. Week 5 is a week of acceleration. The intense, survival-driven fog of the first 3 weeks has lifted. The threshold of week 4 has been crossed, and now something genuinely new is beginning to emerge. Your baby is becoming communicative. Not yet with words, not yet with gestures, but with sounds, with expressions, and with a growing intentionality that you will feel before you can fully explain it. This is one of my favorite weeks to discuss with families, because it is the week when many parents first begin to feel that their baby is truly, unmistakably a person. Let me show you exactly what is happening. By week 5, your baby's weight gain is well established, typically 5 to 7 ounces per week, and the physical transformation from the scrawny, floppy newborn of week 1 is becoming genuinely visible. The cheeks are fuller, the limbs are rounder. The body is filling out in a way that feels substantial. Neck strength continues to develop rapidly this week. During tummy time, many 5-week-old babies can now lift their head to a 45-degree angle with noticeably more control and hold it there for several seconds before lowering it. Some babies are beginning to briefly reach the 60-degree mark. This is real progress, and it is worth celebrating. Every second of head lifting is strengthening the muscles that will eventually allow your baby to sit, roll, and explore their world. Your baby's movements are also becoming slightly less jerky and more fluid this week. The nervous system is maturing, and the transition from the reflex-dominated movements of the early newborn period to the beginnings of voluntary, intentional movement is underway. You may notice your baby moving their arms and legs with what looks like greater purposefulness, not reaching yet, but moving in a way that feels exploratory rather than random. Hand-to-mouth contact is becoming more frequent in week 5. Your baby is beginning to bring their hands toward their face and mouth, not yet with precision, but with increasing regularity. This is an early form of self-soothing, and it is also the beginning of the hand-eye coordination that will develop over the coming months. The brain development happening in week 5 is extraordinary, and it is most visible in one specific domain: social processing. Your baby's brain is now dedicating increasing resources to the task of understanding other people, their faces, their voices, their emotional states. The social brain network, which includes areas responsible for face recognition, emotional processing, and communication, is becoming more active and more integrated with every passing day. One of the most significant developments this week is in your baby's ability to process the human voice. Research from developmental neuroscience has shown that by around 5 to 6 weeks, infants begin to show a clear neural preference, not just for familiar voices, but for speech over non-speech sounds. Your baby's brain is beginning to tune itself specifically to language, not to understand it yet, but to attend to it, to parse its rhythms and patterns, to prepare for the extraordinary task of language acquisition that lies ahead. The visual system is also making meaningful progress in week 5. Your baby's visual acuity, the sharpness of their vision, is improving week by week, and their ability to track moving objects is becoming more smooth and sustained. They are now able to follow a slowly moving face or object through a wider arc and with greater accuracy than they could even last week. Color perception is also beginning to develop, though it remains limited compared to adult vision. What your baby's brain is building this week, above all else, is a richer, more detailed model of the social world. Every face-to-face interaction, every conversation, every moment of responsive caregiving is contributing to that model. And that model will be the foundation of your baby's social and emotional development for years to come. Week 5 is when the social world truly opens up for your baby. And the most visible sign of this is the emergence of proto-conversation. Proto-conversation is the term developmental researchers use to describe the earliest back-and-forth exchanges between a baby and a caregiver, before language, before pointing, before any of the formal tools of communication are in place. It looks like this. You speak to your baby stills and watches. You pause. Your baby makes a sound or a movement. You respond. They respond to your response. A turn-taking rhythm emerges, slow and imperfect, but unmistakably present. In my clinic, I often demonstrate this with families during the 5-week visit. I hold the baby in front of me, speak softly, and then wait, and the baby, almost without fail, responds. Not with words, but with a widening of the eyes, a slight opening of the mouth, a soft vocalization. The parent watching almost always catches their breath. They're talking back, one mother told me. She was not wrong. Vocalizations are increasing this week. The soft grunts and sighs of the first weeks are giving way to more varied sounds. Early cooing, small vowel sounds, quiet murmurs that seem directed at you rather than just produced into the air. These sounds are not random. Your baby is experimenting with their voice, discovering what it can do, and beginning to use it as a tool for connection. The emotional range visible on your baby's face is also expanding in week 5. Beyond the distress of crying and the blank alertness of the early weeks, you may now see what researchers call positive affect emerging. Moments of visible contentment, engagement, and pleasure during interaction that go beyond simply being settled. Your baby is beginning to enjoy being with you. The primitive reflexes continue their gradual fade in week 5. The Moro-startle reflex is becoming less dramatic. The stepping reflex may have largely disappeared. The rooting reflex is still present but less dominant than it was. In their place, voluntary behavior is slowly, incrementally taking over. One new ability worth noting in week 5 is increased visual social engagement. Your baby is now not just tracking your face, they are responding to your facial expressions in a more differentiated way. A warm smile from you tends to produce a different response than a neutral face. A sudden loud sound produces a different response than a gentle voice. Your baby is beginning to read your emotional signals, and this emotional reading is one of the most important cognitive skills they will ever develop. Alert periods continue to lengthen in week 5. Many babies at this age have 2 or 3 sustained alert windows per day of 20 to 40 minutes each. These windows are the richest opportunities for interaction and learning available to you this week, and they are growing. Something I notice consistently at 5-week visits is that parents arrive looking slightly different from the way they looked at 4 weeks. There is still exhaustion. Of course there is. But there is also something else. A quiet confidence, a sense of knowing. By 5 weeks, most parents have developed a real fluency with their specific baby. They know their cues, their rhythms, their preferences. They know which sounds mean hunger and which mean discomfort. They know how their baby likes to be held when they are tired, and what position settles them fastest in the night. This knowledge was not there 4 weeks ago. It has been built slowly and experientially through hundreds of hours of close attention. That knowledge is not nothing. That is the foundation of the relationship that will carry your child through childhood. You built it by showing up day after day, night after night, and it shows. A question I hear often at 5 weeks is, "My baby is making more sounds, but they don't seem directed at anyone. Is that normal, or should they be talking to me by now?" This is a wonderful question, and the honest answer is both are normal. Some 5-week-old babies are clearly directing their vocalizations toward caregivers, making sounds during face-to-face interaction in a way that feels unmistakably communicative. Others are still producing sounds in a more diffuse way, exploring their voice without yet clearly aiming it at someone. The range of normal at 5 weeks is wide. What matters more than the specifics of vocalization at this age is the overall trajectory, that your baby is becoming more alert, more socially engaged, and more responsive to you over time. If that trajectory is present, you are on track. If you feel that your baby is not engaging socially at all, not making eye contact, not responding to your voice, not showing any interest in faces, that is worth discussing with your pediatrician. 5 weeks in, you are approaching the moment that almost every new parent remembers for the rest of their lives: the first full social smile. For most babies, this arrives somewhere between 5 and 8 weeks, with 6 weeks being the most common timing. You may have already caught a glimpse of it, a fleeting, asymmetric curve of the mouth during a moment of face-to-face interaction. Or it may be just days away. Either way, it is coming, and when it arrives, it will feel like everything changed. Because in a very real sense, it has. Your baby is not the same as they were at birth. They are not the same as they were last week. They are becoming, slowly, consistently, miraculously, more themselves, and you are becoming more the parent they need, at the same pace and in the same direction. Week 5 is a week of emergence. The social world is opening. The voice is finding itself. The smile is almost here. In our parent guide for week 5, we talk about how to engage your baby's growing communicative abilities, how to handle the specific sleep challenges that often arise around this time, and how to take stock of your own well-being as you move through the most intense early phase of new parenthood. Subscribe to Tiny Steps Weekly. We are here with you every step of the way, because every tiny step matters.